Hey everybody, it's Aaron again, and welcome back to the third episode of Learn Stuff. And today, what I'm going to be doing is updating the first mission of my campaign, the Shlabovian Conflict, because some of the community members told me that some of the audio was quiet, and I kind of thought the same thing myself. So it's just going to be some minor tweaking for updating some of the audio that I've already pre-recorded before this. So we're just going to change the files out and remove a couple of things, and I will give you a quick tour around kind of what the inside of Summer Isle Invasion looks like for the Shlabovian Conflict. Alright, and then it always loads up in the middle of nowhere. So I generally just kind of go to myself to start. So we start here. And then I've got a ton of units for the enemy because we're doing a lot of fighting. So we have a group of enemies here that are engaging in a dogfight. The second the map starts, we've got a group of tangos, bogies, coming in here that are going to pretty much give the player maybe a minute or two up here. Echo and Kilo do most of the work up here, but you may spend a minute here. They may have them kind of cleaned up by the time you get there, but then these guys come in, more action ensues. Then as you're fighting these guys near the base and kind of drifting this way a little bit, more enemies from a carrier over here, two carriers, will begin to fly towards the city in the map over here. And so at that time, kind of combat will shift a little bit towards this city and the rainbow. And I really kind of, I don't know, it's just for me, when I drift and play this way, I kind of like, I love swooping around this bridge and kind of keeping combat down here and around the bridge. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, so I've got a couple of paths, one for where the enemies start and one for where the friendlies start. As you can see, don't think I highlighted the enemy one very well. So it kind of leads them straight to here. So the combat in the mission, the dogfighting, is going to pretty much take place from like the base to over here around the ravine and kind of around these cities. So it kind of just floats around in this area with all the different number of times I've tested it, but it's a lot of fun. I think it's a great intro mission. It's not too hard, it's not too easy. I'm thinking about maybe making it a little bit more difficult, but I don't want to make the first mission of the campaign too hard, but I didn't want to make it too easy, because if I go in and goof off during testing, I still catch a missile. So I think it's kind of like the perfect balance between difficult and easy, especially for people like me, again, because I've had this game now for, I don't know, like 11 or 12 days, and I've spent 70% of my time in the editors. So I still don't strongly know even how to play the game, but I'm making missions and stuff because I just instantly fell in love with this thing. I've got a few events. Pretty common to kick up an initialize event and do some things when you want the mission to start. So here we're going to, we don't actually have to update anything because the stuff that I have made is of the same name as my previous recordings. So a note on re-recording your assets and then putting them in the right spot. Alright, so in a lot of my videos, and it is required that when you make resources for the editor to use, you need to put them underneath something under here. I kind of make directories to help organize my assets, but so the editor can access them. But then when you make your mission, what the editor does is it makes a copy of whatever you use inside of custom scenarios, and then you're going to see either your scenario, your campaign, whatever you're making, and then I'm doing a campaign, so it has my campaign by name. Then I can go into the mission I'm designing, and then I can update the assets that are used here, because it's not going to know, or I guess it doesn't just forcefully recopy these assets every time to ensure that they're the latest and greatest. So I found that when I was designing this and kind of re-recording things and learning, that old recordings would show up in my testing. So because of that, make sure you manually go and update the assets in the folder inside the actual custom scenarios folder, so that the actual runtime of your mission has the appropriate assets and not the editor. I'm not sure if anybody watching this is going to be a programmer versus not a programmer, but so this is what our IDE uses as resources, and this is what we get as a compiled output. If compiling software makes any kind of sense to you whatsoever. Anyway, so back to removing a couple of things. So the audio will automatically update whenever I repackage up the mission, because I named them the same and then dropped them in my custom scenarios folder for the Shlabovian Conflict Summer Isle. Now what I want to do is remove the messages from Overlord, because in the initial run through of kind of what I was planning, I was going to make some additional messaging, but after kind of making it, I thought that it sounded weird when Actual and Overlord both sounded like me. So what I'm going to do is just delete this whole event out of this event group, because I don't want it, and then I'm going to adjust the background music down to 45 where the other one was, which I should check my new audio log actually to see how long it is, because I do not believe it to be that long. I think it's like 40 seconds. So if I started at 10 and it's 40, I at least need 50. But I think it's more like 37. So then like 3 or 4 seconds later, some background music will start playing. That's acceptable. I think that's good. And then I do some additional audio messaging when some enemies come around. So again, I'm going to remove the message from Overlord, because it just, I'm removing his character. And then same thing, my audio brief here is only so long. So then just after a certain amount of time, what I'm going to do is disable the trigger that I've made. So what you see here is me turning something off that is a radius trigger. So over here I have a triggered event for when Lima and X-Ray, the units on the carriers over here, get to a specific part of the area. And I wish I could show the little blue circle from the conditional, but it's set to 50,000, which is roughly just outside this coastline right here actually. So when these guys get close, some additional background music will start playing. So if I wasn't sure based on timing and I was still learning, so I wanted to ensure there was no background music, then I started playing my new background music, so that it was clear. Anyway, so you get that extra like awesome stuff's coming again, and there's going to be more action, like background theatrical music, and so that's how I trigger the additional background music. But what I don't want to happen, just in case, say the user flies out of that 50,000 ring radius and they're chasing the user, and then they come back into the radius, I don't want to kick this music off again. Like, the event was designed to only happen one time. So back when I'm using my timed event, what I do is I tell it to look at one of my triggered events, which is my proximity event. Did I do the wrong event? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was talking about turning off the other event. What I don't want to occur is the initial briefings. I apologize. So there is, I think, 1, for here. Okay, so I was right about the scenario, but slightly wrong in the order of when I was doing it. So I'm doing it when we arrive here, because I don't want the initialized audio to ever play. I don't want this sequence of events to ever occur again. So this, no, that's not right either. What did I do with it? Where do I call it? Okay, I do call it on initial base proximity. Okay. So in my triggered event, as the last action that I perform, I call audio on base proximity entry, which is my timed event, which plays this, which then turns off the initial base proximity other triggered event, this one. So it kind of goes back and then references itself, or it has this event go back and tell it to stop. So here we tell the event to begin. Then in the other event, when we call it, we tell the other one to stop. So the first one calls the second one, and the second one calls the first one again and tells it to stop running. Anyway, so it's just like an on-off switch, so that if you ever go back outside this 50,000 meter blue line, and then you come back in the 50,000 meter blue line, you're not going to get all the secondary audio that I put in when you approach the base. So whenever you cross this threshold, we make sure that we tell the enemies on the carriers to take off, and then we tell them to fly this nav path so that they can start heading towards the base when you are heading towards the base. It's all about getting the fighters here on time. It's just kind of a timing thing, and like I said, depending on how long this takes, you'll kind of either end up here in combat or somewhere more towards in this ravine, kind of maybe over by this bridge, depending on how fast all of this action happens, because sometimes the initial unit that's on its way, these guys here that are in air already, get there, and it varies on how much time it takes to kill them. So with everything being updated, what I'm going to do is just verify that it works, but I'm not going to go through the whole VR experience in the recording. And then as soon as I verify, because if you were making missions, you definitely want to test them. You do not want to upload untested stuff to the Steam Workshop. That's just nonsense. So I make sure to go through and thoroughly test my missions. Sometimes it can get a little tedious, but again, when other people are playing your missions, timing and synchronization is everything for some, pretty much, well, it's not some things, all things. So I really worked hard to adjust these units, like let me go to the ones that are on the way immediately. So here in Oscar, like I worked hard to determine, like, should I put this at 700? Do they get there too early? Do I need to make it slower? Because at first I wasn't sure. And then likewise with the guys on the ships, what are we doing with their altitudes and speeds and all that other stuff? So in the end, like, I didn't just slide things up to 700 and was like, oh, call it good. Like, I took some time to determine that I wanted this default navigation speed all the way up for the timing of what I wanted to occur. So it wasn't just put them down, slide it up to 700. It was kind of just balancing the timing of the whole thing. So at first it was set to, I think, like 350 or 400, and then that didn't turn out to be enough, and then I upped it to 600 and it still wasn't enough, and so then I just upped it to 700 because, I mean, it's about the only option I got. And I think with kind of how I designed my mission, I just got a little lucky, because it kind of works out fairly well in that it's generally between this city and the base, and so you kind of, like I said, you're over the ravine. It makes for a kind of a good, beautiful mission right here. And then, like I said, if you want to tuck up into the ravine and use the bridge, it's just a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and make sure to test this and that all of my changes work appropriately. And then I'm going to upload it to the Steam Workshop. So I will see you guys in episode 4 when I kind of am showing you what I'm doing with my other mission, the Summer Isle Invasion Second Strike, which is going to be a night-based mission. So it's going to be lots of fun. All right, so we'll catch you guys in the next episode.